Welcome to Hollywood, and welcome to WEBN's special presentation, The Business of the Oscars. I'm Brett Conley.
And I'm Valencia Wicker. We're here on the red carpet at the landmark Kodak Theater. We'll be taking you on a behind-the-scenes journey to show you just how the Academy Awards show comes together.
We'll show you an inside look at the business behind the film industry and sit down with some of Hollywood's biggest names.
Whether you're designing the Academy Awards set, producing a blockbuster scene, or writing the next box office hit, we've got it all. The Academy Awards show is always evolving, from adding more categories like Best Animated Film to doubling the number of Best Picture nominees.
And as the Oscars expand, those who choose the statue winners change as well.
One person has seen the Oscars change is Henry Winkler. He has been in the entertainment industry for more than 4 decades, and since 2007, he has been on the Academy's Board of Governors.
And I had the opportunity to sit down with Winkler and discuss his role with the Academy.
This year we decided to go with 10 films instead of 5.
The Oscars are offering more movies for the same price. Competition for ratings has the Board of Governors for the Academy getting creative, and it all spells money, according to board member Henry Winkler.
Everything in the entertainment business is really fueled by the financial. The amount of viewers watching the Academy Awards is very important. So we thought if we added more films, perhaps we would capture an audience that wouldn't otherwise watch.
The Academy Awards are adding more than films, they're adding hosts. This year, Alec Baldwin and Steve Martin will share the stage.
They're just funny. You know, Alec is funny, Steve Martin is a genius. The two of them, we're going to find out if they have chemistry. It'll be very interesting.
Winkler says they will be able to quantify the results of their changes immediately following the show. The Board of Governors members will get a complete overview of the program so they can continue to make improvements for next year's Academy Awards.
The future will happen at the next board meeting of the Board of Governors meeting, when we debrief, when we see what happened, when we see whether our choices or not actually panned out, and then we go back to the drawing board.
I'm still amazed at how the Oscar winners are chosen and how the show comes together. But what happens after the show? I always hear about these glamorous after parties.
Yes, and there are many of them, but the Governor's Ball is the biggest of them all. Our own Justine Frostad got an inside look on the star-studded bash. Justine?
For over 2 decades, event planner Cheryl Chiquetto has been the mastermind behind the Academy's official Oscars after party. And you won't believe how much work goes into it.
Cheryl Chiquetto's party planning is Oscar-worthy, and no Academy Awards ceremony would be complete without the Governor's Ball. When it comes to the biggest Hollywood bash of the year, the guests may change, but Chiquetto is one name that is always on the list. Chiquetto was born in Canada, and she says event planning was not what she thought she would do for her career.
That was a fluke. I gotta be really honest with you. 23 and 22 years ago, I was the floor manager for a catering company, and Otto Spory, who was passed on, the late Otto Spory, was a controller, and it just happened that for 2 years straight, I ended up at meetings, and I'd give my suggestions, and I'd, whatever. I would tell him what I thought about certain scenarios. I was an actor, so I have a fine arts degree and a theatrical degree. This was not my intention at all, and they asked me if I'd come and coordinate the ball. So then I was doing both careers for about 5 years until I thought, oh my goodness, I love this so much.
This year, the Governor's Ball channeled 1930s Hollywood glamour. Chiquetto says researching the ball's ever-changing theme is the most interesting part of the event.
I try to hibernate in some of my favorite bookstores and libraries and really draw upon several visuals before we come up with the ideas.
Chiquetto planned her first Governor's Ball in the 1980s, and she says the event has come a long way.
In 1989, it was tablecloths and flowers and a rented chair. You know, it was so beautiful. We had some decor treatment, but now it's a production. You know, it really is like a mini film, and I've used this statement so many times, but it is like a mini film. But we have only one take.
For many, the Academy Awards is reason enough to throw a party. But for Oscar nominees, when the show ends, the party just begins. And win or lose, the partygoers depend on Chiquetto to show them an unforgettable night. I'm sending it back to you both on the red carpet.
Thanks, Justine. You know, I wonder if she'll be able to sneak us in.
I wouldn't count on it, Brett.
But think about it, the decorations, the celebrities, the ambiance, the food.
You know, well, speaking of the food, I got a chance to get in the kitchen with Master Chef Wolfgang Puck to see all the food that he'll be serving at the big event. Take a look.
It's the biggest feast in Hollywood, and this Oscar-worthy spread is no easy task.
Now you have to understand, we are feeding 1,600 people for that.
1,600 people, wow.
That evening. So we have 250 chefs working, and we have 600 waiters and waitresses and everybody in the dining room. So it's a big organization.
Now, so what are some of the things that you consider when, you know, putting together a menu for such an event like this?
Well, I think the most important thing is how do we gonna serve, 1,500 people in an hour's time?
Yeah,
we don't have a lot of time, so we have to really think about it. But what I do with 250 chefs, I divide the whole thing into 16 small kitchens. So everybody does about 100 people.
16, wow. Now, how long does it take to prep for an event like this?
Well, once we know what we do, for example, we do the chocolate Oscars, we make that stuff at 10 days ahead.
Okay.
We smoke all of our own salmon, so we had to smoke 90 sides of salmon,
Wow.
so that takes a long time. And then the lobster, the chicken and everything, we cook that on Saturday and Sunday, so that's really fresh.
And how long did it take you to come up with the extra things in the menu? I know some things are kind of traditions, but...
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow, you gotta be good on your feet, huh?
Yep.
And this 5-minute menu is a feast to die for. From beautiful fresh lobsters and shrimp to the crispy potato galette. And let's not forget those black truffles flown all the way from France. But with all this exotic cuisine, what Hollywood really wants is good old comfort food.
We have also our pizzas and our smoked salmon Oscars. You can see them right in front of us here. And everybody's favorite, our mini Kobe burger. People love them.
And why is that everybody's favorite?
I think people like comfort food, something they are used to. And I think somehow I can give people caviar and they say, Wolfgang, well, it's your pizza and your hamburger.
I can still smell the food from that kitchen.
I bet you can, but I'm sure it was a lot of fun hanging with the Master Chef himself. Still more to come here on WEBN's special presentation, The Business of the Oscars.
We'll take you inside the world of animation and movie trailers. We'll also have special effects and the stars. Stay tuned. Welcome back to this WEBN special presentation, The Business of the Oscars. We now continue our journey into the world of movie making, where it all begins, the written word.
Exactly. So before a director can be selected or actors can be cast, a screenplay needs to be written.
WEBN's Johnny Russo has the story about what goes into writing a screenplay. Johnny?
Thank you, Brett and Valencia. Now, the beginning stage of a movie starts with a screenplay. Screenwriters have to use their imagination and be very creative in making the words of a page come to life on the silver screen.
Steven Rogers burst onto the screenwriting scene with a script called Kate and Leopold. Rogers always dreamed of one day becoming a famous Hollywood screenwriter, and all he had to do was take his story through the script selling process.
The way that they do it is, it went out on spec. And what that means is they'll attach a producer to it, so a producer has to say yes, and then the producer will bring it into the studio, and then the studio executive will have to read it, and then they have to say yes, and then it goes down the line until the head of the studio gets it and has to say yes, and I guess what they try to do is get more than one person to say yes, so they can bid on it. And on Kate and Leopold, like everybody said yes, like right away.
Rogers' first screenplay was a success. Throughout the young screenwriter's career, he has written many screenplays, including Hope Floats and P.S. I Love You. Rogers starts with a simple goal, but the writing process is always changing.
It's different every single time. For me, the jumping off point for whatever you write is what's the point of it? What are you putting out there for those poor masses, No, but seriously, it's like, what are you trying to say? I mean, it's whatever hits you and moves you, and you know, something makes you angry.
Rogers has achieved a lot in a short amount of time. He's only 31 years old and has had his pen in 15 different movies in 15 years. But even with all the magic Rogers has created, he has little control over how his script turns into a movie.
But you know what? It comes with the territory because you write it and then they interpret it. And so you're being interpreted, and you can't control that. And it's not my place to control it. If it were my place to control it, I would direct it.
Now, what gets lost in the movie shuffle is that most actors are first attracted to the screenplay. This only goes to show the importance of a screenplay as the basic building block of a film. Now let's go back to Brett in Valencia for more on the movie making process.
Well, another key piece to the movie making process is the director. The director has to work with the cast and crew to make the screenplay come to life.
And one director who has attracted a lot of Oscar buzz is Precious director Lee Daniels.
And WEBN's Jillian Leff has the scoop from Daniels on what he did to make Precious one of this year's biggest box office successes.
Lee Daniels is the first African American to be nominated for a Best Picture, and he even has a Best Director nomination himself. He told us how Precious started off as a novel called Push and made it into a blockbuster.
To the pictures on the wall, to the characters in the schoolroom, it really is a world that I grew up in.
Director Lee Daniels knows the real meaning of the movie Precious. That's because he took experiences from his own life to capture the movie's true essence. Precious is filled with many standout performances, but it was Monique's portrayal of a monster that won Best Supporting Actress. Daniels understood how she was able to shock filmgoers.
She used comedy to help us three-dimensionalize a monster. I think that that's what's so crazy about the performance. You think, no, she didn't just do that.
Daniels not only directed the film, but took on the job of generating much-needed buzz and money for the project.
He will not stop until he gets what he needs done. And I think he also changed the business model. A lot of people sit around black, white, and wait for the money. Lee goes out and gets the money. So
Lee Daniels' go-getter mentality contributed to the film's success in getting the story of Precious heard.
The fact that he took this story and he brought it to life and he made the characters real really hit home to a lot of people in this country.
It really takes you through such a cycle of emotions and thoughts, and has all these reference points that you can or that I could relate to.
After all is said and done, Daniels hopes the viewer takes away an important lesson.
Precious is about learning to love yourself, ultimately. And I think it teaches us about prejudices in ways that we haven't been taught before.
Resilience and risk-taking have currently made Daniels one of the most influential directors in the film industry. Now back to our hosts, Valencia and Brett.
We are only halfway through with our behind-the-scenes look at the Academy Awards and the movie-making process.
Still to come, Jillian Leff shows us how an animated film becomes a reality, and Melissa Unger shows us how all those crazy special effects are created. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. I'm Brett Conley.
And I'm Valencia Wicker.
This year, animation grabbed a whole lot of Hollywood attention. James Cameron's Avatar became the highest-grossing film in history at $2.4 billion worldwide.
And to go along with that bankroll, Avatar has received 9 Oscar nominations.
And let's not forget about the movie Up, which grabbed 5 nominations, including Best Picture.
And you know, animation has come a long way since Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs.
Let's send it over to Jillian Leff to show us how an animated film becomes a reality.
You're actually both right. Animation has progressed from pencil sketches to 3D technology. I had the opportunity to speak with veteran animation producer Bonnie Arnold about her experience in Hollywood and how she achieved success in animated feature filmmaking.
Life is an animated fairy tale for DreamWorks producer Bonnie Arnold. Arnold's latest project is titled How to Train Your Dragon. It's based on a children's book and is expected to be an industry blockbuster.
It's actually the first of a series of 9 books about Hiccup, who is a Viking, and his tribe, the Hairy Hooligans, and their relationship with dragons.
Arnold and her team have devoted themselves to producing an animated film that could be in the running for next year's Oscars. But her immediate reward will be the audience inside the movie theater.
The most rewarding part of the job is actually sitting in the audience with the whole audience full of kids and just watching them enjoy the movie. I mean, that really is fun to me.
Arnold grew up in Atlanta, but she knew taking the leap from home to Hollywood was the only way to live out her producing dreams.
It was a big leap, but I figured if I really wanted to, be a producer, I had to go where they hire producers, which was in, Hollywood.
Arnold made the move to California and established herself as a producer for both live action and animated films. But her experience with both genres revealed a main difference.
I think they say that roughly a day in live action is equal to about a week in animation. So the process takes just a little bit longer.
Producers are faced with the challenge of a hefty timeline, and multitasking is crucial for production to stay on schedule.
You might be working on a script and deciding who your cast is going to be, who your voice cast is going to be, who the animators are going to be, which are the people that bring the performance, the actual physical performance to the role.
The talent and patience that goes into animated filmmaking is unbelievable. Back to you on the carpet.
Thanks, Jillian. Valencia, sometimes when I'm watching an animated picture like Up or Avatar, I find myself living in that virtual world. It's just a true testament to how far those movies have come.
Well, another aspect of movie making that has come a long way is special effects. Sometimes I go to the movies just for the special effects. They are just that fascinating. Let's go to Melissa Ungers to show us how those special effects work. Melissa?
Thanks. Special effects are one of the most crucial parts of science fiction, horror, and war flicks, and you won't believe how they are created.
Hollywood is the land of make-believe, and it is the job of the special effects artist to turn that make-believe into a reality. Special effects artists create everything from rain to computer-generated characters to animatronic creatures for films.
The kind that I do is called practical effects. Practical means it's something that you can actually touch and something that you can interact with on a physical level, as opposed to visual effects, which is all computer stuff.
No matter what type of special effects artist you are, the key is to make it all look real. Dan Kaufman, who led the visual effects team for District 9 and is up for an Academy Award this year, says his team had to be very creative to make it all look real.
We had to make sure that the aliens, the way the alien skin and shell sort of responded to light was accurate enough to seem real. They had to be covered in dirt that matched their environment and sort of dusty and stuff like that. They sort of had to not be anything that was like new or shiny looking in any way.
Matt Corrigan explains how much work his team puts into making his animatronic creatures look real for moviegoers.
Sculpted a whole thing. Then they had to mold that. Then they had to run a skin in that. Then someone had to paint the skin. At the same time, mechanics were making a complete underskeleton that could move, had servo motors for the face and everything. Skin goes over that, hair goes on the skin, and then the wolf goes out the door.
I had to keep reminding myself that the props in Matt Corrigan's work studio were fake. They look so real. Back to you guys on the carpet.
Valencia, special effects truly are amazing.
Yes, Brett, they are pretty cool. But I would like to know how they enhance the drama of the film.
Well, if you want to know how they enhance the drama of the movie or add edge, you need to speak with the movie trailer people and those that work on them.
You mean those godlike voices of the trailers?
Of course the voices. They're the one that sets the tone before the movie is ever released.
Well, Justine Frostad got a behind-the-scenes look at how a preview is made. Justine?
Movie trailers are what put audiences into the theater. Whether they're for a comedy, a drama, or an action flick, I learned that creating these sneak peeks is not easy.
Tim has a problem. To win the promotion, he needs to find the perfect schmuck.
That's George Del Hoyo. You might not recognize his face, but you have probably heard his voice countless times. That is the case with most of the voices behind film trailers and the major animated characters. Del Hoyo has voiced hundreds of film trailers, including B-Movie, Superbad, Blue Crush, and A Beautiful Mind. He says just hearing someone's voice leaves more to the imagination.
I think voiceover guys or people should be heard and not seen, in the sense that if you hear someone, they can look like anything. I mean, in that moment, in that surfer spot, whatever, where I sound like an 18-year-old surfer, they don't know that I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Or I could sound older or heavier. And so I think that the imagination is what you want to allow to flourish, and if they see you, it diminishes it, you know.
Whether you Del Hoyo believes a good delivery comes from acting out a scene with your body, not just your voice.
Some people don't feel the need to be as animated. Some people are very contained with their animation. They're like this, and I am like, my arms just go like a windmill. I feel like I'm orchestrating. I'm literally conducting the whole thing.
Maybe one day the Academy will give voiceover specialists a category of their own. And now, back to our hosts.
It is truly a fast-paced industry, and it is up to the entertainment journalists to stay up to speed. Still to come, we'll talk to some of those reporters who cover Hollywood, especially the Academy Awards. Stay with us.
Welcome back to WEBN's special presentation, The Business of the Oscars.
Now that we've learned what it's like to make it in Hollywood, how do the journalists cover the town?
Well, shows like E.T., Showbiz Tonight, and The Insider are extremely popular. They have a pulse on the industry's finances, marketing strategies, and deals.
They certainly have the inside scoop, and WEBN's Johnny Russo talked to two producers who make it happen every day.
You may not see their faces on entertainment news shows, but they are the ones who shape what you see. I talked to two big-time entertainment news producers on how what happens in Hollywood makes headlines around the world.
It's 4 in the morning and already Entertainment Tonight's senior producer Bonnie Teagle is at work. This longtime entertainment producer is preparing for the day's shows. In her 20-plus years in the industry, Teagle has perfected her producing skills.
I will give somebody a direction if it's an Oscar piece or whatever I'm working on, and there are many producers here, and you give them a direction of how you want it. I was looking at scripts today, and sometimes there's nothing to change, and a lot of times there is, and it may be, I'm not sure that the word on the paper is what I want to come out, but maybe it's the inflection.
While Teagle is starting her day before sunrise, so is E! Senior segment producer Claudia Kagan. She receives around 500 work emails a day, which only adds to her long list of tasks. One of those is preparing a crew to cover a story.
I put all the material together and send it out with a field producer. Among all of that, there could be an interview happening either in the building or outside of the building that I would be responsible for setting up as a segment producer.
To say Oscar coverage for E! and E.T. is important would be an understatement, but what people do not realize is preparation begins long before Oscar Sunday.
The Oscars are something that I really work on all year long. And we think about it in the coverage that we do, we think about it in the interviews that we do. It could start at a junket. When you're sitting down and you're talking to George Clooney about Up in the Air, you are going to talk to him way before the Oscars come out about his performance.
Everything leads up to the Oscar coverage because there's nothing like it. The Oscar coverage is the most watched award show coverage, maybe any coverage, maybe any programming on E!
Everything leads up to the Oscars, so both E.T. and E! try to separate themselves from the competition.
The content is what matters, more than the graphics. You see that red E! logo, you know what you're going to see.
I think people think of us that we're on our own category. I think probably every actor's dream is to be on Entertainment Tonight. I can say that because I've heard it enough from enough celebrities going, you know you've made it when you're on ET.
Producing entertainment news is not all the glitz, glamour, and excitement that you may have thought. It's a lot of hard work and long hours. Now let's go back to our hosts, Brett and Valencia, who do make it look glamorous on the red carpet. Guys?
Thanks, Johnny. Yo, Valencia, it is glamorous on the red carpet on Oscar Sunday.
It's the biggest night in Hollywood, so it attracts press from all over the country and even the world.
And reporters covering this event have to spend months preparing to know everything about everyone that walks down this red carpet.
Jillian Leff got a chance to talk to some of the biggest names and famous faces in entertainment reporting. Jillian?
Well, covering an event like the Academy Awards is everything but simple. Reporters work around the clock to give fans all the details and the latest buzz.
And entertainment reporter Brooke Anderson does just that. Anderson reports for CNN's program Showbiz Tonight. She brings viewers the timeliest coverage of everything entertainment with an uncanny, subjective, and emotional twist.
We're not afraid to express our joy, our excitement, or our disappointment in certain stories or certain people.
The Super Bowl of the entertainment industry is the Academy Awards. So on Oscar Sunday, the reporters will have their game face on, ready to cover just about anything.
I have to know every single name of every major nominee, what they're nominated for, have they been nominated in the past.
Anderson believes her success comes from being a natural movie buff.
I watch the movies. It helps if you're a fan of film, and I am. So, you know, if you watch the movies, if you're invested in what you're going to be talking about, you naturally are more passionate about it.
Since the entertainment industry keeps changing, reporters must have a certain edge in the way they cover a story.
We as entertainment reporters have to be smarter. We have to be more entertaining. We have to come up with more in-depth angles that are going to interest the viewer, because by the time we're on air at night, people have read those stories online each and every day, so we have to come up with unique ways to cover the story.
When the night is over and her stories are filed, Anderson's job is finally done. Beyond the hard work, glitz, and glamour, she has only one real concern.
You know, I've been on my feet for probably 12 hours or more, and this sounds really trivial, but for us girls in a pair of, you know, high heels, it can get really tough. So we're smiling, but we may be in serious pain.
As you can see, entertainment journalists eat, sleep, and breathe the entertainment industry, especially during Oscar season. Back to you.
Now, winning an Oscar must be an incredible and overwhelming feeling. Whether you're an actor, director, or editor, everyone has worked so hard on a major motion picture for months before we see their finished product.
An Oscar is the top honor for all their hard work. WEBN's Kayla Harity got a chance to see the winners right after their acceptance speeches. Kayla?
I certainly saw the winners, and whether it was their first Oscar or fifth, the Oscar winners were still in shock to be receiving the Golden Statue.
I had an eye-opening experience in Baghdad at the end of 2004.
6 years ago, Mark Bowl was embedded with troops and bomb squads in Iraq. Now he has walked the red carpet and won an Oscar for his screenplay, The Hurt Locker. It is based on what he saw and reported in Iraq. Reporters did not make stand-up comic turned actress Monique happy, and she has been fighting back with a vengeance.
And I'm very proud to be part of an academy that says we will not play that game. We will judge her on her performance and not how many dinners she attended.
It was a night of firsts. Monique made history with her first Academy Award as Best Supporting Actress in the film Precious. And Kathryn Bigelow became the first woman to win Best Director with her film The Hurt Locker. She made Oscar history, but the press was more interested in the Battle of the Exes. Her former husband, James Cameron, was up for the same award, Best Director.
I think he's an extraordinary filmmaker. I have to say all the nominees are phenomenal, powerful, talented filmmakers. And what an honor, and how humbling. For me, it was very humbling to be in that company, in that conversation.
But Cameron did not go home empty-handed. Reports say it cost nearly $500 million to bring Avatar to life, and within its first week, the box office blockbuster brought in over $200 million. Although Avatar did not win Best Picture, it took home 3 awards. One of those was Best Cinematography.
It's for the first time that a film has won that has so much computer-generated images and also live action together. So this is a huge revolution for the industry.
Sandra Bullock is America's sweetheart, and many believed it was about time she became an Oscar winner. She won Best Actress for The Blind Side.
This was the film I said no to. If I thought this was going to be my, golden ticket, it just was such odd circumstances, and things came together in a way that I didn't see coming. No one saw coming.
It was also Jeff Bridges' first Oscar win. He has been defined by the comedy The Big Lebowski, but his win for Crazy Heart let fans see the depth of his acting.
Hopefully this award will help bring peace and understanding and prosperity to our world,
The Hurt Locker's 6 wins surpassed all other movies. Winning Best Picture was the cherry on top of Bigelow's night.
What was extraordinary was the love from the critical community. And that was like wind in sails, and it just created a momentum that would not stop. And I hope somehow the critical community could know how much we appreciate it.
After 82 Academy Awards, the glam and the glitz of winning an Oscar does not seem to go away. But some say that winning an Oscar does not mean you'll get the next Best Movie role. But don't tell these to the winners we just saw. Back to you, Valencia and Brett.
Thanks, Kayla. We'll be anxious to catch this year's films and predict next year's Oscars. But for now, it's time to clear the red carpet. I'm Brett Conley.
And I'm Valencia Wicker. We hope you've enjoyed this WEBN special presentation, The Business of the Oscars. Thanks for joining us.